News with swearing. Daily beans, daily beans. Daily beans, daily beans.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Beans for Tuesday, August 6th, 2019. Today we discuss China's response to Trump's tariffs, Trump's response to acts of domestic terrorism, the fate of 8chan, and the MAGA bomber is sentenced. I'm your host, AG, and with me today are Jaleesa Johnson.
Hello.
And Jordan Coburn.
Hello.
How you guys doing?
Hey, good.
Good. It's still a weird week.
Yeah, it's all people are still talking about are the recent events, the mass shootings. But aside from that, there's been a lot of pressure on gun reform again. The conversation had come back up, so that's kind of given me hope.
Yeah, and to even hear Trump address white supremacy was kind of a surprise, even though he didn't write it. But we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. We also got some Mueller news today, which we'll break down pretty, more specifically in Mueller, she wrote, out this coming Sunday. But basically, do you guys remember Judge Reggie Walton?
I think so.
He's a George W. Bush appointee. He's still presiding over a FOIA case, Freedom of Information Act case filed by BuzzFeed. And they were asking for the unredacted Mueller report. And back then he said, I'll wait to see what Barr releases. And that if he thought it was necessary, he'd go through the report to determine if what Barr redacted was appropriate, giving himself the full unredacted report to be able to read the redactions to decide if they fall within FOIA regulations and laws, so that he could maybe release more of what's in under the redaction bars. So anyway, on Monday he signaled he was considering removing some of the redactions for about 1,000 different things in the report for the public. And because during oral arguments he sounded skeptical of Barr's Department of Justice arguments to keep it as it is. He seemed really skeptical. He didn't rule from the bench on Monday, but he seemed to be really impatient with their reasons for keeping everything redacted. The judge cited the Epstein case as an example of how keeping the reasons behind not prosecuting high-profile people generates public distrust in the justice system. And that is what BuzzFeed is looking for in the Mueller report, the redacted explanation of why Mueller didn't bring charges against the likes of Kushner and Jr. So he's kind of comparing Mueller to Acosta here, right? The public, or, if Barr is the one who redacted them.
Yeah, whatever agreement they came to.
Right. So, or I should say he's more comparing Barr, because if Barr is the one who made the redactions, although Barr is saying that Mueller helped him with the redactions and had some input on it. But we don't know, because it's redacted, some of the reasons that Mueller declined to prosecute Kushner and Jr. and stuff like that. We know why he didn't prosecute Jr. in the Trump Tower meeting, but for other stuff the obstruction of justice for coming out with that press release that his dad helped him dictate about, why it was about adoptions and not the cover story for that. Why wasn't that obstruction of justice? So those sort of things, and Epstein, or not Epstein, but Judge Walton is this is why America distrusts the justice system, because they didn't release that stuff in the Epstein case, and now it's all coming out, and everyone's having a fit about it. So he wants to prevent that and promote transparency, but he's also weighing whether Barr's redactions line up with what's allowed under the law, stating that Barr's characterization of the report in his 4-page letter, along with Trump's claims of no collusion, would, quote, seem to be inconsistent with what the report itself said.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So he's coming out, federal judge, who's read the entire report and saying publicly that it seems what Trump and Barr have said about the Mueller report and Mueller's findings seem to be inconsistent with what's in the Mueller report. This is a judge.
Hell yeah.
So whatever he decides to release, if anything, won't likely include grand jury material, because he doesn't have the inherent powers to just release grand jury material to the public. And I'm sure it won't include anything that could harm an open and ongoing matter, like in the Stone case or anything, or any of those 12 redacted Appendix D cases that have been handed off and still are open and ongoing, or the Greg Craig matter, all that stuff. That probably won't be unredacted if he decides to release anything. But he did acknowledge that whatever he does will likely generate an appeal. But he said he'd try to get it done as quickly as possible so the matter can be resolved. So that's where he's at with this.
Well, we do have a portal now into how everybody can go about the ways to see the unredacted report. You can go to law school, become a judge, rise through the ranks,
Yeah, that's
and then convince someone to sue someone in your court about the Mueller report.
I'd probably be able to
And
do
there
that.
you go.
I'd probably be able to do that
Easy.
before they come up with the technology to keep my head alive
Yeah.
until I can see it from someone else.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, it'll probably be appealed. Then it might go up to the Supreme Court, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, guys, we have a lot of news to get to today. So let's hit the hot notes. Hot notes. The Dow Industrial took a tumble Monday, losing nearly 1,000 points. Actually, it ended up at the end of the day being about 780 points or something like that, as China tanked its currency on purpose to an 11-year low in response to the most recent round of Trump tariffs. The Nasdaq was down 278, and the S&P 500 tanked almost 90 points. Now, as a reminder, tariffs are a tax on the American people, and the hike in the price of goods will hit just before Christmas. So you've heard of the war on Christmas. This is the trade war on Christmas. It's another tactic to get the feds to lower rates, I think, personally, which they did this month. So threaten tariffs, sell off your stock, get the Fed to lower rates, make a killing, stock market goes back up, you make a lot of money, rinse and repeat. This seems to be Trump's MO here. He had to know China would respond with more than just reciprocal tariffs, because there's not much more they can tariff us on because we import so much more than they do from us. Or maybe he didn't. I don't know. Maybe he didn't know that. Who knew trade wars could be so hard? So that's happening. And yeah, go ahead.
Crazy that they altered the worth of their own currency in response. I imagine that's not something, Trump predicted.
Yeah,
or
you
any
never
of his idiot
self-sabotage
advisors.
to stick it to someone else.
Well, China's been manipulating their currency for a long time. That's one of the major problems that most of our presidents, Democrat and Republican, have had a problem they've had with China for a while.
In direct response to stuff that we do.
No, just currency manipulation.
Right.
Right, like lighting yourself on fire and things like that. That's what it seems like, yeah.
But basically, yeah, they're tanking their own to fuck us. And so that's precisely what happened.
Yeah, it's effective.
It tanked our Dow, which I don't own stocks. I don't know if you guys do. I don't think most Americans do. We're going to get fucked. Like regular Americans are going to get fucked at the store when prices of goods go up because of the tariffs that Trump put on here. People who own in stocks are going to be fucked unless they knew this ahead of time, and then they could make a shitload of money off of it.
This is a moment of glory for the people that only shop local and USA made.
Yeah.
Yay,
Who
shop
is
local.
nobody.
Support
No one does that. I can't think of a single person I know that does that.
What about
truly.
the swap meets and what do they call them? The little weekly
Like farmers markets?
Farmers markets. Yeah, San Diego has a lot of them. Is that going to be affected too? The organic.
Well, I mean, everyone touches goods that come from China in some way or another, so
Damn.
I imagine that the effects will be either felt directly or indirectly
there's no
by
way around
everyone
this.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
for example, if you're a farm and you sell at the farmer's market, your equipment that you buy,
Exactly,
everything that
that's
you
what I was
need
thinking, yeah.
to farm, the metal that goes into the tractors, like all that's going to be more expensive.
Man, that sucks.
And they have to increase their prices in order to make up for the loss, because I doubt they'll be like, well, we've had this model for a long time ready for tariffs in case they came, so we're good to go. No one's going to give up their income for for these tariffs, to make room for these tariffs. So
This stuff always winds up hurting small businesses the most too,
yeah,
because people
because
that
we
have
don't buy
a
in
very-
bulk.
Right.
Yeah. So who's winning? Who's is it really Trump and his people on this one? Like, is he actively winning in this case, or is he just being a really weird business person?
If they're doing stock sales, if they know that they're going to tank the market by tariffs, and here's how Trump wins. He first of all, if he's doing that, which there's no proof of yet, but I'm sure people are looking into it like crew. Like, are you doing a massive sell-off of your stock before you make these moves that will tank the market, and then it goes back up, and then you do it again and sell off your stocks and tank the market, and you just keep making money that way. The other way he wins is by pressuring the feds to lower rates to counteract any possible inflation, or to keep the economy going, even though these things are, costs are rising due to these tariffs, and people are paying more. Like we will have less money as a result of this, which is bad for the economy, GDP, and all that.
Yeah.
So he wins by lowering rates, which helps boost the economy, and then it makes a falsely good-looking economy for when the election happens. So
Oh, now I get the motive here. Yeah, I was wondering why he would do this. Either one
Yeah.
would make sense.
Because he was trying to get him to cut rates, and the Fed's like, no, the economy's doing great. We gotta raise rates. Mm-hmm. We have to raise rates when the economy does better. And so he wants to cut rates, basically print money and make the economy go boom, and that creates a bubble, like a false bubble of good economy, which usually and almost, certainly leads to a recession. The bubble will burst.
Yeah. He's a short-term thinker.
He's also been saying that the tariffs are like a leverage tactic, right, for him to renegotiate our trade deals that already exist with China and to address things like intellectual property, theft and stuff. But I have seen absolutely nothing come out
He can't get
of the
that
White
far.
House that seems like any sort of negotiations are successfully taking place on the points that he's trying to address.
Also interesting to note, Ivanka's Chinese trademarks are not part of these tariffs. And so her goods and stuff that she has
Wow.
made
Her goods are good.
are exempt.
The sliver of goods that are untouched by this happen to belong to his daughter.
Yeah. What are the other things?
But she'll raise her prices to match the market and just
She's like, no one's looking into that.
So she has shoes that are imported from China. She doesn't have to. We don't have to pay tariffs on that, but everyone
Right.
else does.
Yeah.
And then so her shoes cost the same to make. Everyone else's shoes cost more to make.
Mm-hmm.
So she can raise her prices to match them, and she has a larger profit margin.
Yeah, and she'll
Yeah.
just claim capitalism as like an okay thing, okay reason for that.
Yeah, or just say it's the market value of the shoes right now.
Yeah, but it's so fucked up.
And,
I just
and
don't
that's
like
just
her.
one time. I don't even know if she's doing
Yeah.
that with shoes, but that's just an example of
Okay,
how
her
she
fine
can
jewelry, maybe.
whatever. Yeah, whatever it is.
she sells.
But yeah, that just occurred to me. She can crank her prices up to match the market value because everyone else's costs are going up to make the goods or import the goods. But yet she doesn't have to pay that much because her shit is exempt from the tariffs. And so she realizes a larger net profit.
Yeah, that's why she shouldn't be anywhere near the fucking White House.
No.
She knows too much.
She's a dick. Also, guys, 8chan has gone dark, apparently, after the creator Frederick Brennan, who started 8chan when gamers got booted off of 4chan after Gamergate because they needed a place to go, and apparently after he tripped on mushrooms. He wanted to create a space like a free speech utopia where all speech was truly free. But he yesterday called for the site to be shut down in the wake of the shootings, all linked to white supremacy through 8chan. On Sunday, critics of 8chan lobbied the site's service provider, Cloudflare, to get 8chan taken down. At around 3 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday night, the site went dark. The founder, Brennan, who stopped working with the site's current owner last year, called for it to be taken offline before it leads to further violence. He says, shut the site down. It's a complete negative to everybody except the users that are there. And you know what? It's negative to them too. They just don't realize it.
Interesting.
They're just going to pop up somewhere else, and I think they already have, but it still sends the message that people are going to try to shut down these things that they're doing.
Yeah,
So-
and they're just going to see it as infringing on their free speech, which kind of fuels their flames. So it sucks because the right thing is to shut it down, but I saw some of their last posts on there, and they are really riled up from this. They feel like they're vindicated, and
But the
they're
people who
victims.
host that site also have free speech
True.
to shut it down.
Yeah, which is incredible. I side with them.
Yeah.
I just worry about they should do more. This is a great first step, but I hope they don't stop here thinking the problem is now gone.
Well, what do you
Because
mean by they?
They, as in, I guess,
Like
the government.
other service providers?
Well, just whoever.
Regulators,
Yeah,
whoever
regulators, people
pushed
that
to shut
have
it
the
down.
ability to put pressure on.
Yeah, because when
on-
the government steps in, then it's infringing. It could infringe on free speech.
Right.
But if these private industries, wherever they pop up, it's like whack-a-mole, right?
Yeah,
Wherever,
yeah.
if they get off of Cloudflare and they pop up somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
then everybody calls that service provider and boycotts them and pressures them. Then they drop them, and then hopefully, like Trump trying to get a loan in the 90s, can't go anywhere to get a loan because
Right.
he's reneged on so many of his loans.
Yeah.
They can't go wherever they go. They're like, we don't want to touch you because we're going to get a zillion emails. We're going to get boycotted. We could lose our business.
yeah,
we
the
could lose
hope
our
is
sponsors.
they can contain them that way. I just also worry. I don't know. I just it makes me really uncomfortable just knowing that this is exactly what they want in a sense, and it seems
to
like
get shut down.
yeah, the
Yeah.
problem seems to be that they feel like they're victims, and this just kind of perpetuates that idea in their head. And
it's kind of like QAnon when they say, oh, we're going to have this huge Obama indictment next week, and they set these dates like the Mayan calendar, and it never comes to pass,
Yeah.
and that actually is good for them because they can say, see, it's the deep state. I told you, it's this self-fulfilling thing. It's like what's why religion works.
Totally, yeah. And the FBI, they're specifically looking into 8chan. It's probably why they got shut down. It's partially because of the government pressure, because of the shooter who I guess, was a member of the site. I forgot if he was the El Paso or the Dayton shooter, but one of them was
I
specifically.
think both shooters are connected
The
to
Gilroy
8chan.
guy.
Gilroy.
Oh,
was
Gilroy.
too.
Oh, yeah, specifically on 8chan. And so, yeah, I mean, the fact that the FBI is trying to look into that, I just hope that they, take it a step further and maybe start embracing some of the things we talked about off the air about just mental health, but not in
Yeah.
the sense that they are victims, but just addressing education and all these things that can lead to this way of thinking, the economy, like we were just talking about with the greed that leaves people to feel like they're forgotten.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
understanding who and what is actually to blame for your conditions.
Totally. And then addressing Russia, because they're the ones that are, I think, really radicalizing these guys, these young people.
I think that would exist outside of Russia.
Yeah,
You think so?
I don't see Russia radicalizing these guys. I see that as a homegrown American thing.
Really, or Russia
Yeah.
exploiting them is truly what I believe.
I'm sure there are Russian troll farms that are retweeting and
Yeah, or
pushing this stuff
Yeah.
out
Pretending
because
to
it
be
has
them,
to do
probably.
with Trump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're right. The problem is still here.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just an American, not just American, because alt-right stuff is like on the rise everywhere, but I think it's in and of itself just going to exist, which is awful.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is I would blame Russia for misinformation in the Trump campaign, hacking and stealing stuff. I don't know that I would blame them for example, racism in America.
Right, I wouldn't blame them
Or
for that, just
white
for
supremacy
radicalizing it,
or
weaponizing it.
Yeah, I don't.
I think so.
Of course, they're going to help because they're here to sow discord.
Yeah.
But this is, I think that racism and white supremacy, I think that is a born in America problem.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the accounts that Russia trolls were mimicking already existed for like as long as the internet has had accounts to be made and propagating propaganda that's only
Yeah,
in
like the
service
same
of
way
white supremacy.
they push the Black Lives Matter stuff.
Yeah, and pretending to be black people and saying all kinds of things. Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like they're
right.
also pretending to be white supremacists, or they probably
Yeah.
actually are sometimes.
I haven't seen any evidence of that, but I wouldn't doubt that it's happening.
Yeah, it's
Well,
more
there's-
like space beans.
There's
Yeah,
also the ads
definitely.
too that were spent on the presidential campaign, accounts and stuff. I think some of those were white nationalist things, right? Because they were doing them on both sides just to just
Fuel the
cause
flames.
mayhem.
Yeah, totally.
That's what he means by find people on both sides.
yeah.
That's what he means. Russians are
trolls.
promoting Black Lives Matter and white supremacy at the same time. That's what he's talking about. The Russians. There's
Have you
good
guys
Russians
seen-
on both sides.
Yeah.
What's it called? Prague U or something like that? They're this alt-right
Oh
website.
yeah, that guy we interviewed at Politicon.
Unfortunately, that guy, yeah.
gross.
And so they posted a video today on Twitter that was talking about the Charlottesville lie, which is supposed to be Trump
What?
not actually saying there are fine people on both sides, like the media taking it out of context. And I mean, most people were calling them out on Twitter, but I get the feeling
Is there
that
some third side I'm not aware of?
the truth, that's what they would say. It's tough because these guys are really pushing this narrative, and it only takes a few people to truly believe it, and they get a lot of popularity from being so ridiculous that even the liberals are, giving them attention, and it's
Yeah.
just scary. Yeah.
Well, hopefully they will do what you're wishing and whack-a-mole every time if they pop up. If 8chan pops up somewhere else, I think that the public will be on them. And so
yeah.
because that's when we do it, when we take our dollars away, or when we shut sites down, that use our private business for hosting, that's our freedom of speech as well. But when the government comes in and says you can't talk about white supremacy on the internet, that is an infringement on, or at least freedom of thought. I could see maybe you have new laws about white supremacist groups becoming terrorist organizations under criminal federal law, just like ISIS or
the
a
domestic
foreign
terrorism label.
a foreign terrorism label, an Islamic terrorism label. But that I could see maybe having laws about that, or hate speech specifically, like speech that incites violence or threats and things like that. Okay, but. Yeah, I think that's why kind of the government, other than the FBI investigating, which they're totally allowed
They're
to
probably
do.
not going to do much more because of that free speech argument. Well, maybe, this is probably a far-reaching idea, but if we just taught more about the racial history of America, I think Germany did something similar with the Holocaust, really educating
Well,
young
they actually
people.
made swastikas illegal. You can't even
that
do
is
it.
a step further, but I'm all for that too. I just feel like the most realistic thing probably, the more I think about it, actually, is probably just education. It would just take a long time.
Always boils down to education.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with being pro-education and wanting to spend a lot of money on education, is you don't have this instant gratifying result of, the country's better today. Yay!
It takes kind of like a
takes
whole generation.
Yeah, it totally does.
So take away their assault rifles.
Let's start there. Like, you can have this back when you're educated.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead.
Seriously, you wouldn't give a baby a fucking gun. They don't know shit.
Some people do, unfortunately.
They do give babies guns.
Yeah.
That's true. Those are the worst
For their
videos
birthdays, but
ever.
they
Do you know how
grow
many
into
people-
it.
There's a lot of people who die by being shot by toddlers in this
Yeah.
country. So
Well,
there's that.
Australia
There's
had it right,
justice
man.
some places then.
Totally.
Sorry, they don't deserve to die. Just kidding.
No, definitely not. But Australia took all their guns away, right? When they thought everybody was crazy. And they're like, nobody gets guns.
Yeah, the Christchurch. Who?
That's New Zealand.
No,
Right.
No, Australia, like, they banned guns. They had a buyback program, and they
long time
really
ago.
haven't had a mass shooting since.
Yeah.
Okay,
I want to say at least a decade.
That's
yeah.
awesome. I
Yeah.
also feel like I remember her addressing gun legislation like immediately.
Yeah, that's New Zealand.
What was that legislation? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Yeah. The point being, she
Assault,
responded
I think it was an assault.
appropriately.
I think it was an assault weapon ban because
Totally.
Australia had it, but New Zealand did not, or something like
Yeah,
that. And
okay.
that's
Do
why
the same
this
thing.
person would maybe have been driven to New Zealand. So being New Zealand next to
That makes
Australia, where you can't shoot a bunch of people or at least get the guns you want to, I can see where, well, the cheapest flight, New Zealand, because
Exactly.
you're not going to fly 22 hours to El Paso.
That's
Right.
true.
All right, let's see. Speaking of this, Trump responded to the shootings Monday in a speech. And Jordan, you have more details on that.
Yeah, so he talked from the White House on Monday, which should be yesterday for all y'all listening right now. And he addressed white supremacy for the first time I remember him ever saying out of his own mouth in a speech and condemning it. He said that the threat of, quote, racist hate, unquote, is something that we have to address immediately. He said, in one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. These sinister ideologies must be defeated. So that's the most direct and relevant statement we've heard from him after a tragedy.
Definitely, like, the first condemnation I've heard. But now you've got to, you got, like, his credibility, though.
Yes, and it... Go ahead.
I was just
sorry.
going to say one of his videos from a rally surfaced. I don't know how long ago it happened, but he said, what are we going to do about these migrants? And somebody said, shoot them. And then
Yeah.
he said, oh, you can't do that here, basically.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
kinda-
He like
That's
once it
only in the
registered, he
Panhandle.
like
Oh, yeah.
laughed. Yeah.
It's backfiring. I mean, it
Yeah.
should have backfired then, but definitely now.
Right.
With comments like this, people don't take him seriously, unfortunately.
Exactly. Today's speech comes with a huge but, right? Because
It's kind of like when he said Iran attacked this tanker in the Gulf. Everyone's like, sure, bro. It's kind of the same feeling because of what he's done up to this point, right?
and he also made sure to direct the blame to things outside of gun control and outside of racism effectively, because he brought up that we need to focus on the perils of the internet and social media, which is the ultimate hypocrisy, going back to what you were just saying, based on that's how he was able to get elected by
Totally.
fear-mongering, is social media and the internet. But he also blamed video games and, like, very, very seriously blamed video games, like, so as to suggest we need to have legislation or something against,
Which is ridiculous.
like, first-person shooter games
Everyone
or
has
whatever.
This was
video
an
games.
old trick. This goes all the way back to the video games in the 1700s. No, it ever since video games have come out. I mean, beyond Pong.
Violent too.
Republican congressmen and congresswomen and the Republican presidents have been blaming video games and lyrics in music.
Yeah, except for white music like Johnny Cash.
They blamed Columbine on Marilyn Manson.
Oh, well, he's white. Yeah, I take that back.
Just stuff like that. They've always blamed, like, the entertainment industry
Yeah.
because we're godless heathen.
George Bush, like, hated Eminem, right? They had, like, a
Whoa.
feud or something.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
I'm
have a
surprised
feud.
Dude,
Bill
I
Clinton
want to
didn't
hear
hate him.
his diss track against Eminem.
Yeah.
That would be great.
That's funny. George Bush, he'll just
Yeah.
do a nice little painting to express.
Yeah, I'd like to hear his diss track.
Definitely.
Yeah. But and then he also blamed mental illness. So he blames everything that is not the two top causes of these events, which are assault rifles and racism.
Totally.
In not necessarily in that order. I would say racism is number one, assault rifles is number two, and not to say that the things Well, I'm not even going to go there because there's no research at all that supports the video game argument that people that play first-person shooter games are more inclined to commit acts of violence.
No way, because everybody has video games all over the world, and America is the most concentrated place that has these mass shooting problems.
Yes.
So it's clearly an American thing, but I'm glad he's addressing mental health in general. I just wish he would do it all year round so it wouldn't look so suspicious at this time, because he's deflecting now. But
Right.
if he addressed this all the time, then it would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's
Right,
kind
it's
of
a
like the
huge deflection
equivalent
right
of
now.
all lives matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yes, of course, all lives matter. But when you say all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter, now you're being...
You're overshadowing it deliberately.
Now you're being counterproductive. Do you know what I mean? Now your shit has a different meaning.
Yeah.
If I came out in the 70s and had a all lives matter movement, nobody would be like, but what about all,
Yeah.
it would, you have to do that first. And he took away Obama's laws about guns being allowed, took away those protections.
Exactly.
For people who have mental health issues to purchase guns. He stopped that. So I'm surprised he even brought up mental health, because he's got a record of not doing anything for that,
It was
too.
a talking point that he hopes people don't remember the details about.
And he also tweeted that gun control background checks should be married to immigration reform bills, which I thought was really, really weird and interesting. Fuck you, no.
Like he's trying to squeeze in his racist policies with something we actually really need.
Yeah, exactly. He's trying to piggyback. Oh, you guys are really, he sees the country really into gun control and says we should marry this with immigration reform so he can get his wall and all of his racist shit passed on the coattails of gun control reform, which we have to have because of white supremacy.
Yeah, I saw Ben Shapiro tweeting basically please explain to me how immigration reform relates in any way whatsoever to these events. Mm-hmm. So people are flipping left and right.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ben
Yeah.
Shapiro.
Joe Walsh. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know Ben Shapiro typically is not he's not like a Tea Party Republican or
No,
anything.
no. He's
but
pretty
yeah.
well respected, strangely.
Yeah.
He is a total douche.
Yeah. But
I do not well respect
he has
him.
a good point in this particular sense. And I don't know. I feel like Trump is obviously trying to equate the two, but they cancel out, it seems, right? Like the immigration reform and the gun reform. It's like it's like with the gerrymandering and then the other thing that came with it. It's like the two things cancel out, right? Like when you have policies that are so opposite, but you push them at the same time, it almost does nothing. For
I
either
see
one.
what you're saying. Yeah, no, I think this is yes, but I think this is more along the lines of trying to get his immigration shit passed on the coattails of something the American people actually care about.
Right. But it wouldn't even do the gun reform thing any justice, right? Because it would just create more racism, like the idea of having a wall actually built, which is
Kind of,
freak
I guess,
people
in
out
some people's
anymore.
minds. But we could, I personally would not like to see these married at all. But that is why, for example, Joe Biden says he voted for the crime bill, which had the unintended consequence of mass incarceration for people of color. But it also had the Violence Against Women Act in it. And so he was like, that was what I was pushing for. And it's like, well, then rip those two fucking bills apart and pass the Violence Against Women Act. And that's sometimes why people vote no on things. And you're like, why'd you vote no on the Violence Against Women Act? And you go, because it was attached to the crime bill, which I disagreed with, or it was attached to this, which I disagreed with. And that's where we used to have, I think, something called the line item veto, where the president could get this bill if let's say it was gun reform and immigration, and the president could veto the immigration part and sign the
That's
sign the
awesome.
gun control part.
What happened to that?
I think we still have a line item veto, unless somebody got rid of it. It was under Bill Clinton. I'll have to look it up.
We got to check on Mitch.
But it was because people kept tacking things on to bills that had nothing to do with what they wanted, and I don't think that's a thing anymore, because now people are back to asking for clean bills, like when they passed the 9/11 First Responders Act.
Oh, that's what clean bills mean.
Yeah, that's what a clean bill is it's just to fund the goddamn 9/11. You can't have the
Yeah.
wall in there. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
add this other shit in there. This is 9/11. That's what Jon Stewart and all the first responders were fighting for, a clean 9/11 bill.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought it meant just no sketch, but that's essentially the same thing. You know?
No pork, they call it.
No pork, oh.
Earmarks,
No
or
porking around.
pork barrel spending, shit like
Pork
that.
belly. I remember hearing that one. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like blue collar or blue. What's the gay Republicans call it? They're like blue something Republicans. Oh, it's just like a weird phrase. I was like, how'd you get that from gay Republicans?
I don't even know.
It's the fact that you guys don't even know it just speaks to how weird the phrase is. But I
know
think,
the Blue Dog Republicans.
Yeah, there we go. Right.
Log cabin
Log
Republicans.
cabin. Yeah.
What, is
Thank
that like
you,
a
Amanda.
Brokeback Mountain reference?
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
strange, right? That's what they call gay Republicans, or used to at least. Maybe it's offensive.
They're gay, but they're tough. They camp. I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah, hard as a log. I don't know.
Huh. All right.
Very strange. Yeah.
Republicans. They like Lincoln Logs.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I sure did growing up.
I think another interesting thing too about the video game argument, and someone pointed this out on NPR, and it's a great point, is that he's going after lobbies that don't have money behind them for it to be consequential at all for him to go after them. So if he got up there and he went after the NRA, that's going to have consequences for him in his election.
Yeah.
If he gets up there and shits on video games, there's no lobby of video gamers that are going to come and take your election from
true.
you.
What
Right.
nerd
It's like
protest.
advocating for fetuses. They're not going to get up and say, don't advocate for us.
Exactly.
But
The saddest protest.
Yeah, totally. It's the saddest protest ever. But yeah, he
That's a very good point.
did tweet out like he was interested in universal background checks.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden he comes out and he doesn't say anything about universal background checks in his speech.
Exactly. That
So
was
either that
strange.
speech was pre-written or he got a bunch of phone calls from the NRA
And they're
or
like,
from Republican senators
roll
saying,
that back, bro.
you can't say that, dude. You
Yeah.
can't say it.
I'm surprised he even said the white supremacist thing too, or condemning it, because also he's going to lose like David Duke's support, right? Isn't that like one of his other?
I feel like
major
Trump
base?
would be the only guy to roll that back in his own speech. I don't
True.
think that any
Yeah.
other Republicans would be mad about that.
Good point. Good point. They
Except
forgive him from. They love him so much. They'll forgive him for. He's like their Obama.
I know.
Yeah.
Gross. And then Trump also said he's going to visit El Paso. Lots of people are asking him not to. Beto
Yeah.
O'Rourke is saying, stay away, get the fuck out of here. But the mayor of El Paso says he's already getting phone calls and emails about Trump's visit, but he'll meet with the president and says, quote, for those who have a lot of free time on their hands, I guess I'll deal with their emails and their phone calls.
What the fuck does
Said that
that
in a
mean?
press conference.
To his constituents, basically.
Yeah, to his constituents who are upset that Trump is visiting.
Like if you have the time, like claiming that they have too much free time.
Free time to email him about being upset that
Like
Trump's
get a
coming
job
to
or
their
something.
town.
You're the mayor.
You
Weirdo.
create jobs, fuckface.
Yeah. Oh my god. What an
You're in this
asshole.
town. Yeah, he was kind of a butthole. I'm sure he's going to get more emails now.
Yeah, but the mayor
than
of
he bargained
Toledo,
for.
she had a different response.
Yeah, she had a different take, right?
Yeah, basically-
because he said Toledo instead of
Exactly. She was like, I think President Trump is coming to visit. I don't know. He might be going to Toledo. And
Oh,
then
you said you're the mayor of Dayton.
of Dayton. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, God damn it.
Oh,
now
you
it's
did a
Trump.
Trump.
I did a Trump. Yeah. That's
You
a
called
new
Dayton
segment.
Toledo.
Yeah, it's infected all of us. But we can just take that out, right? We can just roll that back so I don't get emails.
No, it's totally fine because there was a Toledo part in the quote, so it makes sense.
Oh,
that you
yeah,
would be
yeah.
like that.
But
'Cause-
she was much more smooth about it.
Yeah, she was like, exactly. The Dayton mayor was like, he might be going to Toledo. I haven't heard from him.
Exactly.
That was funny.
Yeah, we've yet to hear from the mayor of Toledo.
Yeah.
No comment.
Mayor of Toledo, no comment.
I'm gonna
Please
stay
don't
out
come
of
here.
it. Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll be right back. Hey, it's AG from Muller, She Wrote. We are a nation of immigrants. It's our diversity that makes us strong. Our motto is E pluribus unum, of many, one. And these truths made me curious as to where my family history resides and where my family came from. And it led me to discover more about them and my family history when I used the Ancestry DNA test. So Ancestry DNA, it gives you more than just the places you're from, though. It gives you a feel for who you are and your family story. Ancestry's data archives and record collections give you a more complete picture so you can trace your ancestors over time. And it's really easy to get started. I took the test, found out I was Norwegian and English when I had grown up thinking I was Irish. That was weird. I'm actually less than 1% Irish. I'm glad I didn't get any Irish tattoos. But when I traced my family tree, I found someone awesome. I am related to a guy named Harry Reeser. He's a comedian banjo player from the 1920s and 30s. He was first cousin to Wilbur and Orville Wright. Harry possessed perfect pitch at a very young age and was already writing and entertaining by the age of 8. And that fascinated me because I also have perfect pitch. I learned music at a young age. I was really into music theory, eventually moving from piano to guitar. I didn't pick up a banjo. And then to comedy. So it's amazing how I was able to find myself in my ancestors while learning so much about my family origins. But most importantly, I was able to reflect on my responsibility to others. That is, unless we're indigenous, we're all immigrants, and we must love and respect everyone's family story because that is what makes America great. So find out how you contribute to the melting pot by visiting Ancestry.com today for 20% off your Ancestry DNA kit. That's Ancestry.com for 20% off your DNA kit and start building your story today. Ancestry.com.
More news, more swears.
All right, guys, welcome back. We have news about the MAGA bomber. MAGA? MAGA?
Yeah, I think MAGA, but I guess MAGA sounds more like bomb. MAGA bomber.
MAGA bomber.
MAGA bomb.
MAGA bomber. He was sentenced Monday. And Jaleesa, you have the details.
Yeah, so today we learned that Florida man and MAGA bomber has been sentenced to just 20 years in prison for mailing over a dozen pipe bombs to popular Democrats like Obama and Hillary. Pipe bombs are so old school. It's like cartoon, the coyote and the ostrich. Like, I think like pipe bomb just sounds so weird to me.
But I mean, I guess you could call them IEDs as well.
Oh, IEDs? Yeah, it sounds more legit. They were bombs, still scary. And he even sent 2 of them to CNN newsrooms and said, quote, "The press is the enemy." Sounds familiar.
Yeah, where'd you get that from?
I don't know. It's maybe
Must be Obama.
Yeah, must be. Thanks, Obama. And prosecutors described the incident as a 2-week-long terrorist attack. And a lot of people are upset that he didn't get more time. I'm one of them.
Me too.
Yeah, he should have gotten like life without parole, right? That's what I'm thinking. Minimum. What else could there be?
Well, his the sentencing guidelines gave him life plus 10.
But the judge
came
had a
in
very
way
strange
under.
opinion. Yeah, so basically, the judge believed that the MAGA bomber didn't intend for the bombs to explode or cause death, despite the fact that he put glass and nails in them, which makes them deadly. So that was a weird. I wonder why the judge went with that.
Yeah, that
Seems
was
against popular opinion, right? Like
that was the crux of the case. There has to be something that we can't see. Like maybe he has a history of successful bomb making.
oh, okay, yeah.
But I don't like. How would you know that unless he should be in jail if he's successfully bombed people's faces?
Totally. But it's like attempted murder times like, plus 12. I feel like that's so strange. Some people are in jail for more than 20 years for like cocaine.
Yeah, but this just goes to show intent is really hard to prove, and the prosecution's burden is on the proof, or the burden is on the prosecution to prove that he intended to blow these people up and
He got
murder
a
them.
stamp though. It's like so much deliberation. Yeah, well, I guess we'll just see if Trump pardons him. So.
Yeah, the defense said he was sexually abused as a child. He got hooked on steroids when he was 15, which made him rageful.
Interesting. I heard about someone else that. Oh, yeah, they were saying in this case that if he wasn't on steroids, then he wouldn't have likely.
He wouldn't have done this.
What the fuck?
Like he would have made bombs that blew up
It's
instead.
like Roseanne with
like
that Ambien. It's like, don't blame it on that kind of drug. It's not what it's for.
Right, I'm on Ambien. I take Ambien.
Right, wrong drug for racism.
Totally.
Yeah.
The judge is one of Southern District of New York's most vocal opponents of mass incarceration, despite emphasizing that the MAGA bomber engaged in terrorism. So he did say that this is a terrorist act. He said it was a 2-week-long terrorist act, act of terrorism. But he is really against mass incarceration, and that might explain the disparity between the sentencing guidelines of life plus 10 years and the 20 years that he ended up giving him.
Yeah, he's still incarcerating him for 2 decades. You might as well just, do it case by case. I mean, I guess they have some moral compass, like, as human beings, but there's so many other people that are in there for lesser crimes. Like, maybe just get them out and then leave this asshole in there for longer. If you really
like,
don't
why
want...
him?
Yeah, like mass incarceration. Just have less people and just... more assholes, just concentrated.
Yeah, and it is a federal crime, so no parole. He'll serve at least 80% of the sentence, which is 16 years.
Wow.
He can get 54 days off per year of good behavior.
So he could be 70 years old, come out and build another bomb.
Sure.
What does that mean,
Great.
54 days off? Like they just let you go into the world for free?
No, you can earn...
Like an Epstein.
No, you can earn
per
54 days
year.
off per year of good behavior.
Okay, like vacation
Okay,
days.
I was like, I have never heard of that, and that is terrifying.
Yeah.
That is, I asked that on Twitter, and a lawyer said that to me. If that is not true, send me a correction. You know how to do it. All right, guys, it's time for a call to action.
Hashtag.
So while we're all still reeling after the domestic terror attacks perpetuated in Gilroy, Dayton, and El Paso by white supremacist Trump supporters, Natasha Bertrand from Politico alerted us on Twitter that Mitch McConnell's team posted photos hours after the El Paso shooting that showed tombstones with the names of Amy McGrath, Allison Grimes, and Merrick Garland on them. Amy McGrath is his current opponent in Kentucky. Allison Grimes was who he beat in 2014. And, of course, we know who Merrick Garland is, the judge who he blocked Obama from appointing to the Supreme Court. He posted those right after the terrorist attack in El Paso.
That's so gross. Is there a chance that he might have not been briefed yet, or do you think he did that specifically in response?
It was Mitch's team. I don't know if Mitch endorsed
scheduled
it or
posts?
stuff.
Yeah, one
but-
of those like pre-scheduled things.
Yeah, so gravestones. And then get this. Let's see. An Ohio State Republican representative, Candice Keller, posted, quote, After every mass shooting, the liberals start the blame game. Why not place the blame where it belongs? The breakdown of the traditional American family thanks to transgender homosexual marriage and drag queen advocates. Fatherlessness. The ignoring of violent video games. Open borders. All of these shooters are white.
Yeah.
Marijuana. Jaleesa.
So offended.
Disrespect of law enforcement thanks to Obama. Hatred of veterans thanks to Colin Kaepernick. Democrats in Congress, who have, by the way, written 2 gun control bills that McConnell is sitting on. They're sitting on McConnell's desk. People who ignore God and the church, and snowflakes who can't accept a duly elected president.
It's a lot of different groups there she just listed. I thought she was going to go with like just the Christian thing at first.
I like her opening statement that liberals want to play the blame game.
Yeah, and then she blamed like 12 different demographics. That was so interesting.
Well, if you'd like, I have her phone number, and you can give her a call. It's area code 614-644-5094. Many state and national officials are calling for her resignation, so make it known that you agree. Hop on Twitter, use hashtag Candice Keller resign. That's CANDICE Keller, KELLER, resign.
And what state is that again?
What was that?
What state is she in?
She's Ohio.
Ohio. Wow.
Middleton, right, like close to Dayton.
Oh, that's gross. Yeah, gross in general, but like just really strange.
I thought that this phrase "drag queen advocates" was pretty interesting.
So not drag queens themselves. That's cool. I appreciate that. But like,
yeah, and not like people who maybe every once in a while take in a drag show.
Right, but the advocates, the ones that are out there every day.
Yeah, she basically posted the gigantic signs that are larger than the men that hold them, that are the radical religious people that say everyone's burning in hell.
Yeah, the
the
witches,
ginormous
hookers, whores, fundamentalists, knitters.
Dude, we're at
beware.
Comic-Con.
Whole, and they throw the weirdest shit in there, like horseback riders, and you're like, what?
It's like real life clickbait. Yeah.
Why horseback riders?
You know why?
Drag
Those signs
queen
are so
advocates.
fucking weird too. I swear they keep the same ones for decades. They're like yard sale.
Who
signs
stores
that
them?
got
What
Hulk angry.
piece of shit just goes into the closet at the church and like keeps them all dusted and everything? Like,
yeah, I had to do this thing in an advertising class where they said create a sign to recruit people to be on your workforce, and using that sign idea, I said we do not hire Muslims, gays, drag queens, African Americans, women, disabled, and the bomb says we hire people, and I was like, okay, that was literally the dumbest thing I could have ever done in my whole life.
Well, I'm glad you came to the realization on your own. That is important.
I was 12 and I was trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. We all been there one way or another.
12. I wish I had that excuse.
Because
for
what I was trying to
everything.
say is we don't discriminate against hiring those people.
Exactly, but it came off as I don't see color or something.
Right. It comes off as we don't see color, or it comes off as these people aren't people. That
too.
It takes a while to get to the punchline.
Yeah,
it brings it
You're
all
halfway
home.
through the sign, and then you're like, we hire people, and you're like,
Yeah.
wait, they're not people?
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
like, okay.
You probably lose 80% of the people you wanted.
That's true.
I was
That's
really
true.
glad I
For
ran
the
it. I
first
ran it by my
3.
dad first. He's like, no. I know what you're getting at.
Right?
It's a bad idea.
You've grown, AG. You've come a really long way.
From 12, yeah, I hope so.
That's so funny.
My heart was in the right place.
Definitely.
Yeah, never turned it in. Don't use that if you own a business. It'd be a bad idea. All right, guys. That's pretty much the show. I wanted to kind of go around the table and find out what you guys are doing to sort of keep your sanity about you. So, what are you doing to hang on? What are you doing to cope with everything that's going on right now? Because it seems like, I know we always say it's coming to a tipping point, but it's really seeming like it's one of those fucking songs in the club where the beat never drops, but you're like almost there, and it's like ding 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 ding, but then you're like, and I feel like it could go on for months. But it's a lot of it creates a lot of anxiety. I was wondering how you guys are dealing with it.
Yeah, I've been calling my reps. Pretty much, I guess, like anytime something new happens that would warrant a specific legislative action, I call, and that's helpful. I got to actually talk to someone at Scott Peters' office today. That was the first time I got to actually, even though it's just like, obviously not Scott Peters.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Scott Peters. He's pretending to be him. It's like one of his aides, and just to feel that someone was actually listening to the words I was saying, and they confirmed that the words would be passed on to the representative. But I don't know. I think how that usually, whatever. I won't say the discouraging part.
It does make a difference though in how you feel.
Yes, it does. Because then it's like there's only a few things that we can tangibly do every single day that arguably is going to like make a direct impact on our reps. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And that number is 202-224-3121. You'll get an operator, tell them your zip code, they'll transfer you to your representative. I've been doing that too. Jaleesa, what have you been up to?
Yeah. Besides talking to the listeners and the fans, because honestly they keep me entertained and sane all the time on like Twitter and the interwebs, I played like an hour's worth of laser tag last night. Like really
That's right.
intense. Yeah.
Laser tag.
And it's a lot of other like young people, I guess, that like, you know, just want to have fun. But there was a group of guys who had ski masks on, and the like person that's in charge told them to take it off. Yeah, it was creepy. I was like, this is a weird way to get my like anxiety out by like shooting lasers at this time.
We're here to relax, bro.
Yeah.
Take off your ski mask.
Yeah, a bunch of young kids, and I was like, all right, well, I was just really like weirded out by it. But then when the game started, it seemed like, all right, this is innocent enough. But it's a scary time to like want to do something like that, like laser tag.
Should bring your Guy Fawkes masks.
Yeah.
It's really freak people out.
Yeah, I like the cardio though.
Dress up as the Jabberwockies or something.
Yeah.
That's who those are. I love those guys, but those masks are fucking creepy. If I was playing laser tag against Jabberwocky masks, I would totally
They would
lose.
just like moonwalk around the whole arena.
I would just be waiting for them to dance
Really
awesome
smooth.
and get totally taken out.
Yeah. I got 7th place, so out of
Nice.
33. Yeah, actually.
Nice.
High five.
Thank you. Yeah, little kids were kicking my ass.
Dude, tell me about
They're
it.
so good.
There's probably a league or something.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
There's got to be like a
San
Waka League.
Diegans
We
or
have a lot
something.
of that stuff, like kickball, like grown-ass people
Yeah,
drinking beer
yeah.
and playing kickball.
Right?
We have a lot of that in
I
San
think
Diego.
these are great innocent ways to get out aggression. I just hate that it can be taken to the extreme. I'm like, this is just supposed to be a fun thing, and
Yeah.
I'm freaked out.
Ski mask off.
Yeah, they definitely took them off. They were forced to.
Good. I've also been doing that. Writing letters is fun, like handwriting letters and mailing them to your sender. That actually, putting it like that, just exercise just makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Kickboxing is very stress relieving. And just I pretty much any type of exercise is good. Just something to get your aggression out through physical activity. And like you, I'm taking solace in our patron social media groups. Such great support there, reading all their posts, their supported posts. And of course, Emergency Kittens on Twitter. Okay, Asha Rangappa introduced me to this
Nice.
feed.
At Emergency Kittens?
Yes.
Nice.
We still got to do karaoke with her.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We'll find a way.
I the other day I also talked to my grandpa for an hour and a half, and I think we talked a bit about it in one of the episodes, but he's a Trump supporter and not a white supremacist. So we got to talk about the shootings and the violence, and it was cathartic to talk to him, even though he supports Trump.
He
and
still
truly-
does?
Yep.
Even if he condemns that part of him, he's like, the other parts are more important. Like,
So he thinks, even if he did do anything sketchy with Russia, that what Trump is doing for our country outweighs the negatives of anything that's in the report. So he hasn't read the report. He's probably not going to read the report. He's also pretty old.
right.
But what about the
But-
racism and stuff and the manifestos of these shooters
Yep.
citing Trump and using Trump's rhetoric?
So he doesn't believe that it's fair to blame that on Trump. He very much believes in like the maybe not lone wolf, because he thinks that the rise of white supremacy is like an incredibly large domestic terrorism threat that we need to address immediately. He
Okay.
believes that.
Interesting.
I think a lot of Trump supporters acknowledge that.
Yeah. But he thinks that the problem lies, his theory is we need every kid to fundamentally understand the Constitution and the rights that it affords everybody and why. He thinks that is where kids start getting spoiled, is a failure of the K-12 system.
So better education.
Yeah, better education. Yeah, I guess so.
Interesting.
But he's a
In his
supporter
own
of
weird
the
way.
NRA.
yeah.
He's a supporter of the NRA, although he's starting to turn from them now because he's sick of them asking him for money when he's like, I know you guys have all the fucking money.
They don't anymore, though. They actually really probably do need the money now.
Well, I think what
Don't tell
I
him that.
heard from
Don't
like,
tell him
like an
Adjust your
NPR
expenses then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grandpa, the NRA really, truly does need your money now.
I think they just might look like they need the money because they're not getting as much public funds, but I think they have like private funds. Like they definitely.
No, I think they're in the red.
On paper, I think. But I heard a podcast. I want to say it was like the Daily or Up First.
Oh, the individuals who work there, sure, yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the money they made from the NRA, they have stored away already, so they're
Absolutely.
just getting as much money as they can on their way out. But you're right,
Yep.
they're losing money as a collective.
Yeah, the NRA, the nonprofit, is broke.
Yeah. But it was good to have a talk with him that was lengthy and about politics. But I love my grandpa. He's not going to be around for very much longer, morbidly, probably. So I had when I was younger, I used to be like, how can you believe that? And, you know, I would get really combative. But talking to him now, it's like, this dude is probably in the last decade of his life, and he's not going to change his politics. So I'm not going to sit here and talk to him about how I disagree with him. I'm going to talk to him about what he thinks about these things that I know he agrees with me
Common
on,
ground.
like white supremacy not being okay.
I think we should speak to everybody that way.
Yeah, I wonder what he thinks Trump is doing that's so good, though. Is it like, if it's not a racial
Economy.
good?
He's a big fan.
Okay.
He's a big fan of the economy, and he's a big fan of the stuff with China,
Interesting. Okay.
being tough on China. Yeah. He thinks we need someone that's going to stand up to other people, and we need to maintain our spot as number one in the country
Or
or
the
in the
world.
world at all costs. And he thinks Trump is the only person that is combative enough to do that
It's that
effectively.
alpha male energy, that dragon energy Kanye was
Yeah.
talking about. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it so much. But I get that it's attractive to a lot of people that are traditionalists.
I love
Yeah.
that, though, that common ground conversation. I think that's a good lesson for how we should try to speak to everyone. It's hard, though. It really is,
Yeah.
especially when...
When people, your grandfather doesn't sound defensive, which is great. I think that's the best kind of person to talk to you about that.
He's the like
Right.
kindest, smartest man.
Yeah, so he's open to common ground.
Except that, yeah.
Some grandpas are not open to common ground, especially when it comes to race and just, Trump. They're
You
very
can always
sensitive.
find common ground. You can always find common ground
If you're
with somebody.
patient enough. My patience is not as,
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah,
There
it's
are
pretty
people.
thin.
Well, it also might be them, like you said. If they're super defensive, they're not going to let you find the common ground.
Right, if they're racist, it's
Even
like,
if you
I'm going to have
try.
a hard time finding common
Seriously.
ground.
That's
Yeah.
very true. If they're misogynist, I'm not going to be able to talk to them
Yeah.
about anything.
Yeah, it's a trigger.
because I'm abroad,
Right.
and I don't mean overseas. Hey,
Hey,
what? That was the
domestic.
dumbest joke I've ever told in my whole life.
So cool. I was like, someone has to
Oh my
say
god,
it.
I'm so fired from being a comedian, or I need to be somebody's dad so that I can pass
Yeah.
that off as a dad joke.
It's great as a comedian. You can only fire yourself. No one else can fire you.
That's true. That's
It is
very
a nice
true.
Yeah.
one
but
boss
it's-
situation.
But it's also very shitty.
Yeah, you're your own HR,
That-
your own manager
that
mostly.
However, wherever you are is exactly because of who you are.
Yeah.
Damn, that's some deep shit to end on right there.
All right, and on that note, future comedians, don't do it. No, this has been a really great discussion. I really thank you guys for being here, and I know it's tough. You guys out there, please take care of each other and take care of yourselves. Try to find that common ground. Maybe just find one person in your family that you might have a disagreement with about Trump, and see if you can talk to them about the rise of white supremacy in the country, and see where they're at. Maybe
Yeah.
there's some sort of common thing that you can talk about.
Right?
in-
You're both
in that.
humans. Start there.
Yeah, there. We both are people.
Right? That's
Yeah.
always going to be true.
There's not a lot of talking points laid out for this issue yet, which makes the conversations interesting and actually enlightening, I think,
Yeah.
is there's no Republican talking points on white supremacy exactly right now. Mm-hmm. At least that are as done as like fucking Reaganomics and shit.
Yeah, they're
that
not
they'll
screaming
fall
them from the
into.
mountaintops. Yeah.
Yeah, or you can even start with Trump said at the White House yesterday that that white supremacy has no place in America. What do you think about that? Do you agree with that? And then maybe you can start talking about, I just find it really weird that up until this point, Trump's been sort of for all that stuff, or at least he hasn't condemned it. Like, what took him so long, and the both sides thing. And maybe you can start there, but it is really hard to have those conversations. They are difficult conversations, but if that's too much, then fuck them. Have a glass of wine, take a bath, love yourself, and take care of each other. I've been AG,
I've been Jaleesa Johnson.
I've been Jordan Coburn.
and them's the beans. The Daily Beans is produced by AG, featuring Jaleesa Johnson and Jordan Coburn, and engineered and edited by Mackenzie Mazzell and Starburns Industries. Our marketing manager is Sarah Lee Steiner, and our merchandising manager is Sarah Hirschberger Valencia. Fact-checking and research by AG, Jaleesa Johnson, and Jordan Coburn, with executive assistance by Amanda Reeder. Our music is written and performed by They Might Be Giants. Our web design and branding are by Joelle Reeder with Moxie Design Studios, and our website is dailybeanspod.com.